Hello, I am Kirk D. Lyons, Chief Trial Counsel of the Southern Legal Resource Center, and this is an American Voice. The common culture and history of America is under all-out attack by cultural Marxists. This attack, if successful, seeks to eradicate our monuments, our national traditions, and our history. Although the first attacks by local municipal tyrants was against Confederate monuments, since 2015, the attack has broadened to include monuments to Christopher Columbus, President and Civil War Union veteran William McKinley, Vietnam veterans, and even old Abraham Lincoln himself. The shock troops of this Marxist onslaught against American history has been led by Antifa, the anti-fascist organization, and other allied thugs who have destroyed monuments with law enforcement supinely looking on. When prosecuted, these thugs have been freed with wrist slaps or less by their ideological fellow travelers or useful idiots in the DA's office or the judiciary. These outrageous affronts to justice call into question the respect Americans have traditionally had for the rule of law. Is the rule of law dead in this country? Not yet, and not for us, we say. As loud and obnoxious voices from the left hammer at free speech, due process, and the very heart and soul of American law, historical traditions, and custom and liberty, we must peacefully and nonviolently insist on the rule of law with every fiber in our being, and we must be seen by the rest of the nation to be insisting on our rights and the rule of law in the courtroom and in all public forums. We must continue to insist on our right to protest these abuses, even risking the brickbats and violent, thuggish tactics of Antifa and their fellow travelers. We must be willing to suffer. We must be willing to go to jail and speak out about the hypocrisy of a jaded legal system that persecutes real Americans and patriots and gives Antifa thugs a pass. We must fight the local tyrants whenever they act against our monuments, regardless of the physical, social, or legal cost to us, and we must rally the rest of normal America to our side while there is time. We must prosecute monument lawsuits vigorously in the courts, even though realizing the courts are generally stacked against us. Which is why, as our monument cases work their way to the United States Supreme Court, we must make the cause of monument protection a national issue, a truly national issue, loudly and nationally debated in all media available to us. We must insist on our collective First Amendment free speech, unfettered right to the protection of public art and public monuments from the evil of court-sponsored and so-called government speech. When these cases that we have filed finally reach the highest courts, the justices need to feel the heat of an aroused populace demanding monument protection. Most of all, we must understand that almost all of our media, our government, educational, historical, and social institutions are against us, some of them violently. We must fight all of these entities to get our unfiltered message of liberty and monument protection to what is left of middle and what I call normal America, and we must do this on a nationwide basis. This is no longer just a Southern issue. Though we have been on the front lines for monument sanity and American liberty from the beginning, this is more than a Southern issue. It is a national and American issue. Even if people, North, West, or East, don't care a fig for Confederate monuments, the left has made it very abundantly clear that all traditional American monuments will be on the chopping block. As our revolutionary forebears said, join or die. The Southern Legal Resource Center is helping to move 3 cases to the Supreme Court of the United States. 2 are now on appeal to the Fifth Circuit United States Court of Appeal in New Orleans, and those were cases coming out of Austin and the University of Texas, and San Antonio, the Travis Park Monument. And there is another in Lakeland, Florida, that is now on appeal to the 11th Circuit United States Court of Appeals. All three of these cases claim that local citizens have a First Amendment right to the protection of their public art and monuments. We, the attorneys, will do, of course, all that we can to prosecute these cases faithfully. But, and sadly but, that will not probably be enough. The American public must take an interest in these cases and sound off in all media repeatedly for a favorable review of these lawsuits that will emanate all the way up to those high benches in the courtrooms. So we can't just leave it to the lawyers. We must all play our part in creating the best possible social climate for these vital monument cases to eventually be heard. So, if you are a supporter of the Southern Legal Resource Center, what can you do? Well, the first thing you can do is support the work of the Southern Legal Resource Center. We are a South Carolina nonprofit public law firm. We have tax-deductible status, and we are the legal advocates for the Confederate community in America. If you're a member of a heritage group like the Sons of Confederate Veterans, encourage members of other heritage groups like the United Daughters of the Confederacy, the Daughters of the American Revolution, the Sons of the American Revolution, the Daughters of the Republic of Texas, the Sons of the Republic of Texas, and any other heritage and historical groups to get involved in monument protection. And it might help if you went ahead and joined those organizations if you're eligible, so that you will have the voice of being a member to allow your voice to be heard. Contact your state legislators and ask them to sponsor legislation to strengthen monument protection and enforcement laws, especially asking them to enact laws to make monument vandalism a felony. Also, in states where public universities have desecrated monuments, ask your legislators to cut funding to these institutions. These are public institutions using your tax dollars to desecrate these monuments. Cut off the money flow, and your legislators have the power to do that. Get your family, your friends, your co-workers, your church, and anyone you know involved in this most important fight for American liberty. The continued peace and prosperity of our nation may well depend on what we are willing to do now for our suffering country and its public monuments. Thank you.